that are blamed for global warming. Part of President Biden's infrastructure bill would help people buy greener electric cars, which, as you know, are more expensive. General Motors plans to stop making gas-powered cars by 2035. First on CBS This Morning, Ben Tracy got rare access to the facilities that GM says will power its electric future.
On the assembly line at this GM plant outside Detroit, there are two things auto workers like Mark Owens will never see again: internal combustion engines and gas tanks.
How different is this?
Completely different. I never thought I would see an all-electric vehicles where we didn't have any gas tanks in it.
This is where GM is making the Chevy Bolt, the company's only mass-market fully electric vehicle. But that's about to change.
It's not so much if, it's just how fast.
Mark Royce is president of General Motors. He says electric cars will no longer be a novelty for the rich. GM is now betting big on batteries, planning to launch 30 new electric vehicles across a wide range of price points in the next 5 years.
Do you feel in any way like you're kind of building a new company inside the old company?
I do. It's the biggest thing that the industry's seen in a long, long time.
GM is rebuilding this massive 4.5 million square foot plant in Michigan, now called Factory Zero, as in zero emissions. The name of the street out front also got juiced.
So the robots look ready to go.
Ours were the first network TV cameras let inside to see what plant manager Jim Quick says is the factory of the future.
This body shop, when complete, will be the biggest body shop in all of General Motors.
The biggest one you got.
The biggest one we've got.
Factory Zero will soon produce an electric version of the once notorious gas-guzzling Hummer. And this summer, GM will launch this, a larger version of the Bolt called an EUV.
You made a lot of headlines when you announced that you want an all-EV fleet by 2035.
Right.
When you look at the actual statement and said your aspiration is to eliminate tailpipe emissions.
That's right.
There's some wiggle room in there.
There's a little bit of wiggle room in there, but the aspiration to do that is really going to be based on the consumer and how well we solve some of the problems that people perceive around electric vehicles.
I do think most Americans look at electric cars and say that's not something I can afford.
Too expensive, yeah.
That's because batteries have made up about 70% of an electric vehicle's cost. They are now getting cheaper. GM is building and testing them in-house to further drive down costs. Automakers are also counting on the federal government. President Biden's infrastructure plan calls for 500,000 new EV charging stations across the country by 2030. Motor Trend editor Elisa Priddle says automakers will soon offer consumers far more EV options.
The reason that people don't buy EVs right now is they don't want some funny little pod that doesn't do what they need for their lifestyle or their family.
Right now, of the 250 million vehicles on American roads, less than 1% are electric. Last year, EVs accounted for just 2% of all U.S. auto sales. Almost all of those were sold by Tesla, which is now worth more than GM, Ford, and Toyota combined. The tailpipe is an endangered species because states such as California and Massachusetts, and countries including Japan, the UK, and the entire European Union, are soon going to ban the sale of gas-powered vehicles to combat climate change. Ford just announced it will go all-electric in Europe by 2030. It's already selling a battery-powered Mustang in the U.S., and next year it will electrify the best-selling vehicle in the country, the Ford F-150 pickup truck.
You really cannot afford, as an automaker, to not have a full portfolio of electrified vehicles really in the next 5 years, or you are going to be left behind.
Did you know that Norway sells way more electric cars per capita than the U.S.?
GM is playing the patriotism card, telling Americans in its ads there's no way Norway should be king of the EV road.
We're gonna crush those losers.
And Mark Roy says he expects some automakers won't survive the transition.
That desire to win is very deep. I would say anybody that is making electric vehicles now or in the future is high motivation internally for us to win.
A fight for the future that is electrifying Motor City. For CBS This Morning, Ben Tracy, Detroit.
Well, you can see Mark Roy's determination there. He ain't
Well,
playing.
Yeah.
It's an inflection point in the
It is.
history of the automobile.
The tailpipe is an endangered species. That's quite a statement.
Don't you remember back in the day when you heard about someone with an electric car, you did a little eye roll, like, oh God, either they're elitist or they're a hippie or they're just, la-di-da, but that is certainly true.
Yeah, no, in the old days, it's something you're afraid to get on the freeway with, you know?
Yes, yes.
Everyone's bigger than you, faster than you,
Seemed like a
stronger than
little
you.
putt-putt. That's changed.
But an electric Hummer sounds pretty
An
imposing.
electric Hummer.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd hear that.
It's changed.
All right. Up next, Vlad, you